Okay, we've just been looking at the game of Slitica, and now we're going to look at the game of Chem 10. And we're going to go over to James. He's going to tell us a little bit about Chem 10, which is another great game from his company. And this is also quite a simple game to play, but a lot of skill involved as well. So over to you, James.
Now, Chem 10 is a game that is played with 4 colours, and with this game, essentially, it's all about neighbours. It's about what colours can go, how many neighbours every colour has got.
Okay, if we start with the yellow counter, then, for example, I'll give one place and put it on the board. So if I put it in the middle of the board on the white square, a yellow counter can only have one counter next to it to satisfy it. And what we do with this game, every counter needs to be satisfied in a different way, but James will come on that to later on. If I put another yellow next to it, then the original yellow is happy, but also actually this yellow is happy as well, because they both got one neighbour next to them, so they're both happy counters. So now James is going to move on to the next counter, which is the red one.
Okay, so red, whereas yellow has one neighbour, red has 2 neighbours. So to make an example, basically any one of these, well, I'll put it over here, any one of these squares can then have a neighbour, so we put 1 in. So now basically red needs 1 more neighbour to be happy, so if we put another counter here, another yellow one, then now red is happy as well.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next one now, which is a green one, and as you probably guessed, this needs 3 neighbours. So if I put the green one on the board, I have to place 3 counters next to it. Now it's worth pointing out that you can't have a neighbour which is diagonal to it, as in chess for example. You have to have a counter which is actually next to that one to make it happy. So if you have a green one, it needs 3 neighbours, so I'll put 1 there, 1, 2. At the moment it's not entirely happy until it gets the 3rd one in, and now it's a happy little green counter.
So can you have only just a yellow one here, or can you put another colour on?
No, to make the green one happy, or even happier as we'll come on to later, you can have any 3 neighbours next to it. So if I move that one away and I place the red one there, the green one is still happy because it's got 3 counters alongside it. So that's still a happy position to be in.
And naturally, the blue one sort of is a 4 neighbour colour, so essentially it's very sociable, it likes lots of neighbours. And so in this case we'll put on some more yellows, and suddenly we have a happy blue in the middle. And also, to answer Lisa's question, in actual fact we could have other colours there as well. So for example, we could have a green one there too, and so forth and so on. Obviously green here is not happy yet because he's only got 1 neighbour, but the idea is the blue is happy no matter what the colours of the neighbours. It's also worth adding here that about this is we're looking at something here called an island. So each one, what we've done here is we created islands. And an island where all of the pegs are happy is basically, it's a satisfied island. It's basically, we call it well formed. It's basically, it's a good sort of island. So here we've got two happy yellows. We've got 2 happy yellows and 1 happy red, and got like here all of these are happy as well. But here, blue is happy, and all of the yellows are happy, but green isn't happy. Now green can never be happy because we can't put a peg here, because suddenly we make the yellow unhappy, right? Because yellow's got too many neighbours. Now too many neighbours is not allowed. It's illegal. We're not allowed to have too many neighbours next to a colour.
So James, am I right in thinking that you have to really concentrate on the counters on the board?
Yes.
So like for example, it doesn't matter about adding the counter if it's sort of unhappy-ish. It's the counters on the board you've got to concentrate on, and you've got to make sure they're happy at all times.
Yes, or at least you can't. Basically, you can have 2 different types of unhappy. One type of unhappy is you've got a counter with not enough neighbours. So that's allowed in the sense that the situation is okay in the game.
The green's not happy.
So basically, someone puts this on, somebody else puts this on. That's happy in the sense that it's not happy in the sense it doesn't have enough neighbours. But so what you can never ever do is you can never have a green with say 4 neighbours. So something like this is completely illegal because that's got too many neighbours. So that's unhappy with too many neighbours.
And so the yellow,
that can never ever happen in a game.
Right.
So we always have to make sure that we don't give any colour, any counter, too many neighbours.
Right.
So here in this situation, we can never ever make this one fully happy, because obviously we can't put any pegs here, because yellow means we can't put pegs next to a yellow, because then the yellow would have 2 neighbours, and because yellow's allowed a maximum of 1 neighbour, we can't go over that maximum. So therefore this island can never be a well-formed island, and so basically that's something that's going to be quite important, as we'll explain later.
Okay.
So what we have here then in summary is each colour has a different number of neighbours. Yellow is 1, red 2, green 3 and blue 4. And we have the concept of an island, and the two types of island. One is an island where all of the pegs are happy and that's well formed, it's good, it's perfect. And then we have an island where something like this where it can never be perfect. Maybe you could do this, but now there's no other way of putting on another counter, and this one's never going to be happy. So this is called an imperfect island. It's not a well-formed island. Okay, so how are we going to play this game? So we've seen like the islands, and we've seen how the counters work. So now we're going to talk about how we actually play. And the first thing we do, we set up the game. Now when we set up the game, we start off with 22 red, 22 green. We start off with 18 yellows and 14 blues.
Why do you need that amount of each one?
Yeah, that's a good question. The reason is we essentially it's to do with when I was talking about well-formed, perfect islands, and basically then you've got other types of islands which can never be perfect. Now, if you've got too many blues and too many yellows, then it's more likely to get an imperfect island.
Okay.
So whereas because in the Goldilocks zone here with red and green, because they basically don't have too many neighbours, not too few. So they kind of play more nicely to make well-formed islands. So it's kind of a gameplay type improvement thing.
Okay.
Okay, so what we do next is we take all of these pegs and these counters, and then we sort of mix them all together.
Right.
And then we share them out so each one of the player will get 7. Now the way we'd normally do this is we'd normally place all of the counters into a bag, and then basically people would draw the colours out of the bag and keep them secret, right?
So it's random what they pick out then.
That's right. So pulling out random colours.
Okay.
That's right. Yes.
So it's not predefined, but you pick them out from the bag which you can't see.
Okay.
Yes.
And you hide your colours. Why do you hide your colours so that your opponent can't see what you've got?
Indeed, yeah, because somebody else knows what you've got, then they might use that information to.
Yeah,
right, sure.
But having said that, though, maybe you could play a variation where the players are allowed to see each other's counters.
Yeah.
So there's other versions of skill involved with that as well, I guess. So.
Should they go?
Sounds good to me. Okay, so let's
Ladies
say ladies first.
first.
Yeah, okay, of course, yeah. Got to be ladies first.
Okay, I'm going to go for green.
Okay, now a question I have here. As a green needs 3 neighbours, whatever I put on the board, the green's not going to be happy, is it?
No, but it will be happier than it used to be.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what's on the board, but you try to want to make them happier.
Yes.
So it's always...
The rule is you can't exceed the maximum.
Okay, so it's satisfying the chips in front of you that are not played rather than the chips on the board.
Yeah, so it's a bit. Well, the only rule is you have to go next to an existing sort of island. So here we've got an island that's sort of partially formed, just one counter.
Okay.
And your idea is basically to get rid of your counters. So the way you do that is you put a counter next to an existing counter on an island. Now, if an island is perfectly formed, then you can put your counter somewhere else to make a new island. But that can only happen once an island is
Okay, so I could put any counter next to that at the moment?
Yes, that's correct.
Any counter at all?
Absolutely.
So
right.
I don't have to put a yellow
No.
to make a
If
yellow
you did,
happy?
then the yellow would be happy, but you don't have to do that.
I don't have
That's
to do
correct.
that. I can
You
put any.
down
So let's put a blue next to it.
And that's a good move.
Okay.
That's a legitimate move.
Okay.
Why would that be a good move though? as such?
Well, when I say it's a good
More
move,
scope.
you could have made any move there, and all of the moves are equally virtuous.
So everything was okay.
Correct.
So it's hard to go wrong.
You can't go wrong at this stage in the game.
Okay, good stuff. Right, James will show us how it's done.
Disappointment and delusion will only happen later. Okay, so likewise, I can actually put a counter anywhere on here as well, next to either of those two, and because none of these will exceed their number
Okay.
of neighbours that the maximum allowed,
Okay.
then then that's okay.
So all you're trying to do is avoid exceeding the ones on the board.
Correct.
So
we
that's
can't exceed.
So
the
I can do a
maximum.
yellow, because
Yeah,
then
okay.
the yellow's happy.
Yes.
okay. So the key is basically
And
you
that might
can't.
cause a bit of chaos. Maybe.
They can't exceed their things.
Absolutely.
So you just can't get to a
Yeah.
stage where they.
So with a
exceed.
yellow,
Right,
you're never allowed to go next to a yellow
Yeah, so
now,
that
because
could-
then
Sure.
you're exceeding its
So
maximum.
that's why
of
making it
twice.
difficult for
Yes,
people.
that's right. So,
Good.
and eventually you start running out of places to go. You see.
Okay,
Yeah.
so actually now I can't
Yeah.
put one next to the red as well because the red has 2 neighbours.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Because
Yes,
if I put one
correct.
next to the red now, it'd have
Yeah.
3 neighbours. I
That's
couldn't put
right.
one next to the yellow.
Yeah.
So only 2 places I can go is
Yeah.
next to the green or the blue.
Yes, and
So-
at this point, let me say something. As even though the blue and the red are diagonally connected, they're not considered
Yeah,
as neighbours
yeah,
to
yeah.
one another.
Neighbours,
It's only
yeah.
straight on. Okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put, let's say,
So,
let's make it a bit more difficult. Let's put a yellow next to the green.
Because now
now-
what going next?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Now notice that now we've this island cannot be completed because like we can't put a peg here because yellow's
blue will
already
never be
exceeded.
happy.
We can't put a peg here because reds would go over its
So
limit of 2.
the reason it can't be completed, as
Yeah.
Lisa said, is because the blue can't be happy.
Yes,
That's right. If we can make the blue happy,
yes,
and then it could be completed.
That's
but,
right.
Okay. So,
That's
right.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
in this case, I mean,
Yeah.
in a different case, it might be that you
Yeah,
can't
of
make a
course.
green
Yeah.
happy.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the idea.
Okay.
So now, if you got a yellow, then you could
I think
actually.
it's your move, James.
Oh, is it my
I
move?
just put the yellow there.
Oh,
Is
right,
it?
right.
Keep with the programme, James.
Well, in this case, I can actually win this game now because by putting a yellow here,
So my last move is a bit
nobody else
disaster.
can
No
go.
can move. Okay.
So
And
I've won.
so no one else
Yes.
can start another island.
That's correct.
Okay.
Because
So how do you start another
the
island?
reason is that the blue is unhappy. You're only allowed to start another island
When you've got a
blue is
complete one, when
when
everyone's
all of the pegs
happy.
are happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, a trivial case might be if someone puts a yellow down. So let's start another game. If
Yeah.
someone puts a yellow down, someone else puts a yellow down. Then we've made an island and that's happy.
Yeah.
And now the next person can
Can then start a brand
another
new one. Okay.
That's right.
Fine. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
So
good.
you won the whole game then?
Yes, I won.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Don't
we
like
thought
this game
we
either.
thought we were being clever, and
But actually, we're just handing the game to him. Great.
That's equivalent of a fool's mate in chess where you can win in 4 moves.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's only when you're playing rang amateurs, so who don't know what they're doing. So,
Yes.
so I'm sure next
Yeah.
time,
Okay.
because obviously again you have to think
Yeah.
ahead
Now,
about
the moral
what you're going
is,
to do.
we've got to be careful about making an island imperfect because then it
someone
gives
can
somebody
win.
an opportunity to
To
suddenly
win.
win.
Yeah,
a
of
big
course.
game.
Whereas
Yeah.
I was almost
Yeah.
thinking I was sabotaging you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
actually
That's
I was
it.
undoing myself.
So actually, it's
Okay.
quite important to think to try
Yes.
to avoid making imperfect islands
Yeah.
to give other people chances,
Sure.
unless it comes back around to you
That's
and you
right.
think you can
Okay,
win it in
good,
advance.
I
So,
like
Precisely.
okay,
Yes.
so good.
Yeah.
I think my
So-
children would like this.
Oh really? Yeah. That's excellent.
Yeah.
And say children. I mean, probably age range what, sort of 7, 8 years old.
Well, yeah, they would have
onwards,
done when they were younger, but they are
yeah.
older now.